Okay, so state of mind. How are ya? If you like what you see, hit the button right here. Blop, blop, pop, pop, pop. Okay, every time I do that, I think it's funny and nobody laughs, which is fine because whatever. I'm with Jordi Vilasuso.
Oh.
Jordi Vilasuso.
Mm.
All right. He's been on every soap. Every soap that's on. Well, not on. No. Yeah.
Almost.
Almost. Um, and I don't know. I looked him up, Jordy, and there was not a lot there, like dirt or anything. So he's probably real clean and stuff. But I'm gonna get to know him right now. Him and his wife have a podcast, and I can't wait to talk about that. And there's a question I want to ask him about acting. That's kind of cool because he's done all these soaps. I've done two myself. Anyway, I just want to say, what's up?
What's up, my man?
¿Cómo estamos?
Aquí. Boom.
You good?
I'm great, man. I'm super happy to be here and super into what you're doing on this show.
Where'd you grow up and all that? Start from that.
Miami, La Florida.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, the 305. Yeah.
How was that?
It was great. My dad's a Cuban exile, and so is my mom. So strong Cuban community down there. He's a doctor. My dad's dad was a doctor in Cuba. My dad's brothers were doctors. So very, came here and really leaned into education first and foremost. And yeah, grew up there, earned my stripes, started acting at the age of 11, knew it from the get.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I really wanted to do it.
Now, your father being a doctor, everybody doctors, are they like...
No, he was the most supportive. My mom was scared. My grandparents were scared. She's like, las drogas y todo eso se va a meter.
Yeah.
And, they didn't know. But my dad was like, go for it. When they saw me do a play in high school, they just opened a drama club at my Catholic grade school. And I got the lead, and I did it. And, my brother played piano, baseball. I played baseball, but I had this thing. I had to act, and I had to do it, and I had to figure out my own way. And I had some really good teachers. Who?
In Miami?
No, here.
Oh.
I moved here when I was 18 after high school.
Did you study in...
I just did theater. And I did study a little bit with,
good.
yeah,
Theater,
but theater really, the high school theater, outside Coconut Grove theater. And then when I got here, I just started. But my training was really guiding light. I moved to New York when I was 19, and I started there. And, I worked with great people. I worked with Kim Zimmer.
Damn.
I worked with Paul Anthony Stewart. And I just learned, and I had great directors. I had directors from Juilliard.
You did?
Brian Mertes, yeah, he was a director. He was a teacher at Juilliard, and I remember, I was 19. I was really green, and and I was kind of like, I was going out. People were inviting me out to go to the clubs, whatnot.
Right.
And I remember one day I had not shown up with my best attitude or my best work ethic, and he said, "You're good, but remember what you're doing here and know your lines when you come to set." And when I got that little in the booty, I was like, all right. And from that point on, I really came to work ready to go all the time.
How long did you do Guiding Light?
3 years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I remember being there because they had all these photos. It was over 44th between 2nd and 3rd, and like a 3-floor studio where they had screen gems and whatnot. And I remember seeing your headshot there. And I was like, was Maurice on this show?
No.
And I don't know why I was there, but it was a time when they were doing the mafia storyline, so I was like a mafia-esque.
So you're 19, 3 years. What'd you get out of that soap? What'd you get from that experience? That's young, man.
It was young.
I started at 24 there.
Yeah.
All my children.
Yeah.
Were you good then?
I was good.
Ah.
I was good. It was a great character, though. I had a great, like for me growing up,
You won an Emmy?
I won an Emmy in 2003, yeah. Yeah, and that was fun. My grandfather came. My parents all bought tickets for everyone. My grandfather came up. He was beautiful. He used to record all my shows on VHS, have them at the
Yeah,
house. And I'd have these decks of on the shelves, just tapes with the date. He was very diligent about putting all the dates and the
yeah.
shows next to it. I think I got, in retrospect now, I think I got that when you get a character that's so good on one of these shows, or any show for that matter, it's like, you got to appreciate that. It's not always the gig. Sometimes you're given this and you got to do it, or you say no. But I've gotten that a few times, and ever since then, after, not always eating steak, but peanut butter, you take the gig, whatever.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate when I get great story and a great character. That's kind of what I got for it.
There's a question I want to ask you. And I thought it was a pretty damn good question myself. And here it is. What makes you happier? Because this is kind of goes into what I was talking about, because you've done all these soaps. What makes you happier, the character you play or the people you work with? That's a good question. Come on, Jordi.
It is. I think it's the character I play, to be honest.
You do?
Yeah. Especially if you don't like the people that you're working with.
That I know. Yeah,
right?
It's interesting to me because I would go with the character, but man, like I had an experience working when I played John Gotti with someone who, and that was great character, but horrible. So it's hard for me to say.
It is hard to say. And to be honest, I haven't really had a lot of bad
I haven't either
experiences with other people. But when it's bad, it's bad. Because this is a collaboration. You and I, we're exchanging vulnerability. We're exchanging risk. We're exchanging stories that are important enough to tell on screen.
Yeah.
So you gotta share. You gotta come to the sandbox and mess around.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's like, oh really? You're gonna all right. So what am I going to do here? I'm either going to get into it with you, which I've never been a real fan of, right? Getting into it with a co-star and, being a ball breaker or what have you, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Or you just do the best that you can with what you're given. And it could be a person that's like giving you nothing but a wall, nothing.
I know.
And you're like, you know what? I got the skills and I'm going to.
But that's where, like with me playing Sonny Corinthos, for almost 30 years now. Jesus Christ. It's a great character. So you can lock in to the character. And like you said, I think for me, it's the story when it's a great story.
You're excited.
Yes.
You're excited about going to work.
You can have a great character and not a great story. And you're like, all right, it's all right. But when they get that story, and it almost doesn't matter if there's a jerk or in the story, because it's a great story.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and that's what I took away. Like, great story in this genre when you're given that, because it's not always the case. But when you're given that, it's like when you're, because we don't get to tell these stories. You can't tell this on a film. Can't tell 12 pages. It's a theater. It's theater. It's almost like the actor studio. You're working on something, but when you get great stuff and you're able to let go, and you're like, I don't know where the fuck I went in that, but something happened. That's my currency. Yeah, that's it. That to me is like, okay, now I know why I do what I do.
And soaps are the only thing that does everything in real time. Like, I did an AIDS story, and Michael Sutton came to me and said, hey, I'm letting me go. But it's a year, and I'm gonna have AIDS, and then I'm gonna die in a year. And he said, "Can you help me?" What he wanted was an Emmy, And so I said, "I'll help you, bro." And we did it. And it was real time. O.J. Simpson killed soaps. That's
right.
That's
true.
Because no one really saw the AIDS story.
Right.
Because every time a great show would come on, you'd have O.J. in the court, doing his thing. And that year, really, the ratings just died.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting an Emmy nomination. But where'd you meet your wife? I want to hear about all that, man.
So my wife used to watch me on Guiding Light. She grew up in a CBS family. So they used to watch all the soaps on CBS, As the World Turns, Guiding Light. And when I started on the show, she was a Florida actor. She was in Fort Lauderdale. I was Miami, but we had the same manager, a woman by the name of Marjorie Morhaime, who did the casting for Miami Vice in Miami.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
I love Miami Vice.
Yeah, it was great. So Marjorie, when I moved to LA after I got my Emmy and I was done with Guiding Light, Katie had just done Monster, which was the movie starring Charlize Theron that she got the Oscar for. Katie played Charlize as a young girl in flashbacks in Monster. Yeah. So
I love that.
Marjorie said, "Do you want to meet Jordi?" And she's like, "Yeah." This is her telling me. And I was 22. She was 17. And we met at the Broadway Deli. You remember the Broadway Deli in Santa Monica? I used to live right above it in a loft.
Right.
Because when I came back from New York, I wanted to be able to walk around. And in LA, you got to drive everywhere. But for me, I was like, I want people. I want to be surrounded by people. I want to walk around. So we met there. And it was just, I knew. It's crazy because I
Right
knew.
away you knew?
Yeah, I knew. There's just something there. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's a godsend. But she went away to college. And while she was away, I basically had a girlfriend for like 4 years. It was almost gonna get engaged, and then she sent me a Facebook message. And when I got that Facebook message, I ended that relationship, and I went straight to her, and I snagged her. She was 24, right when she got in town, and you're coming with me. And she like moved in like 3 months later, and she's been my Katie ever since. Yeah.
How long?
12 years. We're gonna 10 years in August. This August. We've been together for 12 years. We've known each other for 19 years. I'll be 41.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah, she's a gem. She's great. She's my everything too. Like I'm gonna if I'm up for this Emmy now, but she's like, "Hey, who are you gonna think of?" I was like, "Babe,"
that's right.
I said, "Baby, you're gonna be I think God and then you. I think that's how it's gonna work."
That's the way it has to be. Yeah, that God. Yeah, I've done it every time.
You know, when I won, you won in 2003. When we did it at Carnegie, was it Carnegie Hall? Or was it at
Oh my God. You won when I won my first one. Like it took me 10 years to win my first and then 20 years to win two more.
Yeah.
But that night was wild.
Wasn't that fun?
Oh my!
What an event the Emmys were.
It
So
bro.
fun.
I used to have to walk in with cops.
Right, the crowds just outside the place. They
grabbing my ass and pinching me and stuff. Wow, you won that night?
Yeah, it was fun.
And Vanessa won. Vanessa Marcel.
That's right.
Damn. This is amazing. So let's talk about. I want to talk about this. She did this movie. How was that experience?
It was great. Her mom, Patty, had grown up in Florida in the local industry down there as like the killer in the commercial industry. So like all the commercials that they shot in Florida, she did something over like 100 national commercials. Her mom. So she used to take the kids to all these commercial auditions and incorporate everything she could. But Katie, she's such a talent and she's got great taste and she's much smarter than I am. But she doesn't like the game, the auditioning, the rejection. She doesn't have the constitution for that. And she'll be the first to admit it.
So when she got this, was she like, it must have been ecstatic, or she doesn't?
I don't think she really knew. I don't think she didn't
know.
Isn't that great? I love that. I love when I don't know.
I know.
It's just all the expectations are out.
So what about as a kid, man? Did being Cuban, because everybody thinks I'm Italian, but I'm not. I'm 100%.
I get the same thing. I get Cuban.
Really?
Yeah, I get Italian, Greek.
But when you play in Sonny for 30 years,
of course,
he's you know that Sonny is half Cuban, half Greek.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But I'm like, no, he's Italian. I ain't playing this. Well, how do you play?
Right, how do you do it? Yeah.
But he talks Spanish and all that stuff. Okay. But as far as like being Hispanic, I don't know what's the correct way of saying it nowadays. You get in trouble if you say the wrong.
I like Hispanic. Let's just
I
keep it
like
easy.
Hispanic
Let's keep
too,
it
right?
easy, bro. Let's
Yeah,
not get complicated with.
that's what
I used to call it Latinx. They're like, no, no, it's Latinx. I was like, oh, sorry, but let's just call it. Let's just call it what it
I
is.
say Spanish,
Or
but whatever.
Spanish is
Yeah,
cool. I
but
feel that.
you're Cuban, whatever.
Whatever.
Um, growing up, how did they view mental health?
Well, I was fortunate in a sense that my dad's brother was a psychiatrist,
Mm,
but still, I think mental health was still something kind of kept in the closet.
eh,
Um, since then, you know, when I went to school and I studied psychology for whatever reason, I've been super interested, curious
when
about.
you say school, you're studying in school right
Yeah,
now?
I would go to college. Like I went to college when I was in Guiding Light. I you know, and I think that's
That's
part of my
amazing.
family. My family, they were so hung up on being educated that my
Oh,
dad always wanted me to get my degree. Whatever I did, he's like, "Go do acting, but get your degree." Never got it. But you know, still was very curious, still about learning, and I think when my parents incurred some problems, and also reading about Brando, how he was always, so I was like, oh, there's something to this in terms of acting. He's in therapy. I need to get into therapy. But when my parents separated
mm.
when I was 24, I made the family go because there were so many dynamics that were off in the family. I go, we all need to go to a family therapist. We
Oh,
all
you
need to sit.
did?
Yeah. Yeah. I made them all go.
Mom, dad?
Mom, dad, Javi, my brother, and Mariang, my sister, and we all sat there and we had it out. And it was not that well received. But I was like, we have to do this. If we're gonna move on and we're gonna put the family together, we gotta talk about this. Or either you two are going to therapy or we're all going together. One or the other.
And you went together.
We went together, yeah.
And how long did you go together?
We went for an hour, hour and a half, but
For
for
months?
once.
Oh, once.
But they got back together. My parents ended up getting back together.
Oh,
And then for me, I went on my own in my 20s. And then when my wife and she was 6 months pregnant when we got married. And we didn't have any, she's a child of divorce. Her parents are divorced, great parents, but divorced. And I remember we were sitting in our house. We were living in Florida at the time. I was shooting all my children and they tried to do like a Hulu thing. So we were living in Florida. I was doing some shows down there. And we had our 4-month-old Riley on her lap. And she said, I think we should get a divorce.
no.
She's the most important thing. And when she said that, it was like she went for the red phone. It was nuclear. I was like, whoa, that word is not in my, I don't feel comfortable with that space. So right away, I started looking for therapists in the area.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. And dude, we found a therapist in walking distance from our mom's house. So we could literally walk to the therapist. And this woman, we still talk to her to this day. We've been with her for 10 years. Her name's Julia Fischetto in Lauderdale by the Sea.
But
And
why did she want a divorce?
you know, Maurice, to be honest, I think
I don't
we
get
weren't communicating well. We didn't have the tools. I was 31. She was 26, 27. We were living with her mom, which, you know, anybody living with a parent, it's gonna be tough,
Yes.
you know? And, but I don't think, it's so tunnel vision when you're dealing with,
Were you
you're
not
young.
connected?
We're getting pushback. But I don't think we understood how to, in the midst of conflict, how to really keep the ball moving forward. We didn't know how to we didn't have the skills to communicate. And ultimately, that's what it is.
But you were good.
I mean,
I mean,
I think, but
I mean, you didn't
she
want.
she would probably say something. Oh, I didn't want a divorce. I
Yeah.
think for her, she felt like since she was a child of divorce, oh, this is like, I'm not gonna go through what I went through with my parents. I'm gonna end this now for her, for this little baby that's sitting in my lap. I'm gonna end it for her.
Damn.
And I'm like, no, that's not gonna fly. That's not gonna fly. And we went deep, and we still go deep. And
So you went to the therapist.
we went to the therapist, and our relationship got deeper. We got deeper. We wouldn't have, you know, maybe we would have ended up divorced, or maybe we would have lived our own lives living together. But
It's beautiful. But
we needed the help.
What was some of the stuff that the therapist was saying that you stuck with you?
So the first thing she said, do you have love for each other? And we looked at it. We're like, yeah. And she said, don't forget, you guys are lovers and friends. And for whatever reason, that put in this framework of like, friend, I got your back. Like, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
It's like we decided to do this together. Like, she's here, Riley's here because of us and God, but
Yes.
we needed to unite.
Right.
And that put us in more of like, I think, a teammate getting on the same, like, yeah, there may be a problem, but let's figure out how we can get on the same page together. And she taught us how to communicate whenever we had a problem. It was great that she was there because it was almost like a mediator.
Yeah.
We couldn't figure it out. I was like, all right, let's just hold off on this really contentious subject matter we're dealing with, you and I. Let's talk to Julia. We'll call Julia tomorrow. And we would get on the phone with her or be in her office, and we would go off. And then afterwards, we always made it a point, we'd go on a date. And we'd have a drink.
Dang.
You know? And also for me, like the whole therapy thing with couples, you're investing in your relationship.
Yeah.
Like, man, kids, work, life, you get caught up in all this, but you got to invest in each other, man.
And you were lucky that you found one that worked.
So lucky. Like, literally, I think we went to one in the beginning. She was whack. And then we found Julia, and she was just like, this is it. She gave us, and it was very interesting because my friend who was he's a neuropsychologist, I called him and I was like, dude, listen, Katie and I were having problems. It's like, I'm looking for a therapist. Anything you suggest? And he's like, find a CBT, a cognitive behavioral therapist, because you're going to leave there with tools. You're not just going to be sitting there in analysis like talking the whole time and not getting any feedback. She gave us tools to leave with.
Like?
Have a date. After this, go on a date.
That's a good tool, yeah.
You know, find time for yourselves every day to hug, embrace, have sex with each other.
Yeah.
Like, don't let that go astray. Like, be intimate.
Yeah.
Whether it's touch or just spend time, because you're investing. It's not going to be, you can't just sit back and be like, we're married, it's fine. No, because then it falls apart.
I just want to say the stuff that Jordi's talking about is very important. And I don't talk about it enough on State of Mind, because he's giving you tools, man. He's giving you, see what I do on State of Mind is I give tools too, but I tell my stories, and I'm an actor, good actor. I can tell you good stories, but he's giving you kind of some cool stuff that I'm actually taking in, very much listening. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, it's so important. But, a lot of times, like we just said, it's difficult to find the right therapist. And some people write me and say, I've gone to 3, they're horrible. And
yeah.
So, but when you find, that's why somebody like Martin Brando can have therapy his whole life.
Right.
Because it helps when you're with someone who can see you that way and understand.
Yeah, and I think also, like, for men too, I found that my friendships, like, I've developed different friendships just from being vulnerable with men and like seeing how outside of therapy, but being able to talk things through with men, it's been a real interesting thing, and it helps out with the therapy, but finding men that you can connect with and relate to, because sometimes you can't tell them what you're going through. You can't tell your wife. You have to find a dude, and you're gonna be like,
I agree.
You know what I mean? And you have to have men that you can trust and that you can sit down with and be real with.
And I see a lot of guys, because I'm an open book, as you can obviously, and I tell everybody, hi, I'm Maurice Benard. I've been in a mental institution. How are you? But most guys hold that stuff, and I say to people, you hold it in, you're gonna blow.
Yeah,
it's just the way it works.
It's happened to me. Happened to me recently. I held stuff in. I was like not communicating with my wife. Man, did I blow up. And I felt shameful. We actually talked about it on the podcast. We use this thing called asking for a friend, but in this kind of framework, it was obvious that it was me. And I did something that let's call it that I threw a glass across the room, right?
Ooh.
Nobody wants to do that shit. I don't want to do that shit. But I had something, it had nothing to do with her. It was me.
Yeah.
And I hadn't opened up to anybody, or I hadn't opened up to her, and I was triggered by something she said. And she didn't say it. She wasn't like looking to hurt me.
Yeah.
And we actually talked to a therapist about it, and she said these are the things, because I felt so bad afterwards. I felt so shameful about it.
Yeah.
But we were able to address it and forgive each other. She was able to forgive me. I've forgiven myself. I can say I've forgiven myself, and just be aware of when stuff like that comes up.
How's your anger?
It's there.
Because I have, I have rage.
Yeah, no, I have rage for sure. I've had it since I was.
Yeah, me too, bro.
Yeah, since I was young.
My dad had it.
So did my dad. My dad had it.
He used to, right, to punish me, he would take a belt.
I got the belt too.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that adds to the rage.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, do we know that if the father didn't take the belt, that you would? I just believe, this is my, it just, if you have a little bit of rage, that's just going to give you more rage.
Yeah. And I think, rage, anger, they're part of life. I think we have to be aware of them.
Yeah.
I tell my wife now, I'm so aware of the feeling. It's like hot. It gets hot right in here. Yeah. Real hot, and things start to get tense. And I'm like, listen, we're talking about this. This is me and her talking. We're talking about this right now. I'm getting heated. Let me just take a moment just to walk outside, punch, like walk around, whatever. Curse, whatever the fuck I need to do, but let it out. And then I can be more rational with you. I can be here with you.
Yeah.
But that's shit that, as a man, I have it in me, and I don't want to be that in front of my girls either. Like, I don't want them to feel unsafe. I'm surrounded by females in my household, so it's like.
So am I, except for my son.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I have the joke that when I yell, then, I'm like the monster.
You're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, the whole house is against me. I'm the bad guy.
Okay, but let me ask you something. It's like Jordi's interviewing me. It's great. I love it. I love it. I liked it though. I really do. Okay, because I feel like when I raise my voice, then all of a sudden I'm fucked. But aren't we allowed to raise our voice?
Yeah, I think we are allowed to. I think it's part of what we do in our profession, right? So there's almost times that I'm like, maybe I'm dealing with something at home, and all the shit that comes out on screen, it's like maybe I've kept it in at home and it's finally coming out.
Right.
And I'm able to give a channel to release that stuff. I do that. It's all right. I think so. I think
you just can't do it a lot.
You can't do it a lot. You gotta. I think it's either you go outside. I don't like doing it in front of my kids because I don't want them to feel unsafe.
Right.
So there's that. But they've seen it.
Kids?
9 and she'll be 6.
Well, your kids are young. Mine they're all almost adults. So.
But also, like, they're gonna see too. It's like, I think it's part of life too. So like, you try your best. If they see it, sucks. But hey, they're gonna go through it too. They're gonna have these times where they're gonna have to raise their voice because of some injustice or something that they feel they need to confront.
Yeah.
And you want them to know, like, sometimes the shit hits the fan. And it's okay. You just have to learn how to get back up and address it either through, hey, listen, I effed up. Can we move on? Like, what do I need to do so we can heal from this?
Right. And also, I was born with the curse or the blessing that I have an enormous intensity.
Yeah.
So in acting, it's the greatest thing. But in life,
yes.
That's great. Yeah. And I'm just like, what?
But growing up in a Hispanic household, there were screams, right? There was shouting. I mean,
you know what?
House,
not in mine.
No, that's beautiful.
Well, it was all internal. That's maybe, there wasn't, I didn't hear them screaming a lot, my mom and dad or whatever, but it was internal, which
has the other side.
The other side of that, right?
Yeah. My mom and dad would have it out in the household.
I think that's better, maybe.
Maybe.
because they're not holding it in; they're just letting it out. But maybe it's too much.
I think if they had therapy, it'd probably be less
Yeah,
screaming.
exactly.
Um, but I'll tell you one thing. I mean, this is kind of like where I come from. If anybody ever asked me, "Hey, do you're doing this marriage podcast? Do you have any advice? I'm about to get married." I'd be like, you know what? Either get some counseling before you get married,
I
or get some counseling while you're married, because it's gonna get tough. It's
agree.
gonna get tough, and you're not gonna have the answers, and your parents may not be able to give you the answers. So you need to go to someone and hash it out.
You know, I gotta tell you, I'll confess. I, you know, I everything I do, mental health and everything. I'm not seeing a therapist, and I know I should, and I'm going to. Especially,
What do you think has withheld you from that?
it's not any. I love
Yeah,
going to therapists,
yeah.
man. Because a lot of times, and I'm not trying to be cocky, but I feel like I'm smarter than a lot of these
Mm,
guys.
I love that.
Oh, it's
That's
great.
interesting.
It's great, man.
That's interesting.
Oh, I sit there and just, and I'm it's fun. So it's not that. It's just, well, during the pandemic, and this is an interesting thing I want to talk to you about right now too, because I can get it out. This beauty about podcast. It's your platform to
Yeah.
say what the fuck you
Whatever
want.
the fuck you want to say.
Okay. So it took me 4 months to find a psychiatrist in every day that I didn't want to be on this earth anymore because of anxiety. I mean, every 24/7 thinking about what
It
do
was
I
the isolation. Were you scared to
No,
get
no, it was
sick?
a lot of things. It was I was promoting my book, which
Yeah.
my book ended up doing better during the pandemic. And my mom and dad moved out of the house. Um, I'm not working for the first time in 30 years. All that, and that's the end of the world in
Yeah.
our minds. So I got this anxiety that just I've had it, but not like this. So it took me 4 months. You know how quick it is to say, I'm out, done, I'm dead, like that, right? 4 months. So, and I wanted to see, so, because I'm like, hell, because I'm good at when I'm in that state of mind, I want help. I'm not one of those people who don't, please, I don't want to feel this way. So, and then I watched a show on 60 Minutes. This is what I want to really do. Somebody told me to watch the show on 60 Minutes on children who takes their anxiety, bipolar, whatever their depression. It takes 4 months to a year to see a psychiatrist. What the hell is that? I mean, I don't get it. Children,
Why?
they're backed up, and a lot of people feel like it's the pandemic's done now. Only in that period it was difficult. No, now these 2 years later, these kids are much worse. A lot of them.
Yeah.
So I'm making it a point to have doctors on here and
Love it.
kids and talk to them and
Well, clearly there's a need for it, right? If there's a 4 to 10 month waiting list for people to get people to help in mental health professionals, I mean, you're doing the right thing because there's a need for it, especially in these small towns too, where kids have so much access, they want out. And this one therapist I was talking to, she said she grew up in a town of 7,500 people. I said, interesting. So how many therapists did you have there? She said there were two therapists.
that's another thing. Yeah.
So imagine, like, that's all you have and now that it's becoming more accepted, right? I'm going to a therapist. Like, I love when people are open like that and be like, man, I'm going through something tough, but you know what? I'm getting help. I'm either in a group therapy format, which there's a lot that you don't even have to pay for. AA is great for a lot of people. It's helped so many people. And then, there's family therapy. There's, and it should have its place. Just like, and I was thinking about this the other day because you had talked about it. You said, shouldn't there be a mental health class in our school curriculum?
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Shouldn't there be a class on how we deal with media? We've never dealt with media in this day and age. There's never been this, like, I could have everything in the palm of my hand,
Right.
any answer. Um, we should have a mental health checkup. We have a physical. Why don't we have a mental health checkup
I
every
agree.
year? That
I
should be
agree.
part of,
I agree.
everything.
Well, the pandemic, like I've said, it's the curse and the blessing of, you know, it's the curse is suicides are out of control, right?
Yeah,
The blessing is it's so much awareness now. I'm so freaking happy
that's true.
because it's not been like this, man. You never. I'm watching TV commercial for bipolar. If you have anxiety, if you have depression, it's the joke is this: everything that's on TV commercials, I have. It's like I won't get into everything, but it's like you have
I got it.
if
I
you
got
have,
it.
if
I
you
got it.
have psoriasis,
Yeah.
if you have bipolar, if you have depression, if you have sleep apnea, it doesn't. And I'm like, oh, fuck. But that's the beauty of that. And there's another thing that I read that the insurance is too high
Yeah.
for people that don't have money. They can't afford the insurance.
I believe that if you ask me, the most important thing in our society is mental health. It's going to be the evolution of humankind.
I agree.
It's going to be a better way that we learn to communicate instead of creating all this division in this country. There's an etiquette that we've lost almost, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's an etiquette that's been lost because a lot of people, when they're talking, it's just a text or it's something that they can post on social media. There's no pushback. You're not looking at somebody in the eye having that conversation.
Yeah.
There's an etiquette that we've lost.
I agree.
Relating to one another.
Even though I'm obsessed with my social media. But it's business. For me, I see it as business. And the beauty of social media, I get everything you said is absolutely on the money. But the beauty of social media is, because I did it, you can look up Lexapro.
Yes.
And go, oh, okay. You can look up bipolar.
I was on Lexapro.
Yeah,
I was on Lexapro in my 20s for a long time. And what I didn't know about Lexapro is when you cannot drink alcohol on Lexapro.
Oh, I didn't drink alcohol.
No, I did. And man, I lost my sea legs like that after like 2 beers. I was like,
and the first 5 days, you're worse than you were.
Yeah.
And somebody at work took Lexapro and she had to get off 3 days because she was going. I said, you have to wait.
You have to endure it, yeah.
And then I did, and it did save lithium saved my life. So did Lexapro.
Yeah.
Because if Lexapro didn't work at that time during the pandemic,
and that's the first time you were prescribed Lexapro?
I never took anything for anxiety.
Anything else?
I thought I
Wow.
could get through without it, and I have gotten through without it. But like I said to people, and I'll say it again because it's important. It's like being you got first, second gear. That's where you want to stay in. You can go to third, don't go to fourth, and don't go to fifth. I think I was in sixth during the pandemic. So when you're in sixth, and I'm sorry because I believe in meditation and I believe in yoga and I believe in working out, but when you're in sixth or even fifth, you got to get professional help and take something. Yeah.
And there shouldn't be any shame.
No.
And if you want to keep it private, that's cool too. That's your thing. Nobody needs to know about what you take.
That's right.
But there shouldn't be any shame in dealing with that.
No.
I'm a big advocate of meditation and yoga as well.
It's great.
I heard you didn't do yoga yet, though.
No, man.
You got to give it a shot.
Everybody
so great. Because I think a lot of things, too, is for me, I should speak for myself, but for myself, if I get caught up in acting, especially, if I get caught up here in my head and I'm not in my body, being present with you, this shit's going to rattle away. What are you doing? You should be looking this way. You should be doing this. Oh, he's judging you. If I'm not here in my body.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And that's one way that I've learned to tap into it, so much so that I got certified between gigs.
Wow.
I did the 200-hour yoga course.
Well, then you'll teach me then.
I'll teach you. We should do some poses after.
Wow. No, Rod, that's cool.
It's cool.
Because I know I'm not doing it by myself. All right. I don't have much more to say. But I am going to say this. This interview has been with Jordi probably just one of the most, how's the word, knowledgeable? When he started talking about mental health, This guy became like Eckhart Tolle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was. I saw it happening, and I really, really appreciated it because I just felt in my head as we were talking that it's going to really give a lot of people things to think about, and it's going to just help a lot of people. That's all I can say, man.
That was my intention coming here, man.
Yeah, I know. I know that was your intention, and you accomplished that intention.
I'm so glad you're doing this.
Thank you, brother.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.